we will begin the meeting with a small prayer. So may I ask all of you, please stand up for a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a few announcements to make. The first announcement is, for transparency and future reference, the entire session of this meeting will be videotaped. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, with your permission, I ask the Independent Legal Counsel, Mr. Joseph Matthew, to come forward and make his presentation. Thanks for coming to the General Board.
Thank you, President. ഇവിടെ കൂടിയിരിക്കുന്ന എൻ്റെ ജ്ഞാനായ സഹോദരി സഹോദരന്മാരെ, before we go into the PowerPoint slides and before I start explaining to you what the events of my investigation, a couple of things I want to clarify. First of all, this is a neutral investigation, which means that we're just examining the facts here. I will not be making any legal conclusions. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to see what were the events, and then the people will decide. That's not my decision, that's not my call, because this is, investigation was started on your request, and that's all I'll be doing here today, is presenting my conclusions from the investigation, stating the facts. So, what did we know? We know for sure a couple of things. Number one, that money was collected from the people to build a church right behind this community center. And then we know that this money ended up being used to buy a church 4.2 miles away. Now, the people wanted to know basically two questions. How did this happen? And was anything done which was improper? And to basically answer both those questions, we will first look at the sequence of events. What happened? The events that took place. So we'll be presenting the facts. Now, let's start with the basic facts. From talking to many people and from reading many of the emails and letters, we know that the people wished for a dream church. Now, we don't know exactly when this dream started. It could have started with one of the first people who came to Houston or our elders, we don't know, but we need a set date for that, okay? But we know when it started becoming a reality, when this dream started becoming a reality. And we need to set a date so that we can begin our timeline. And so let's start with August 17th, 2009. Okay, that's when the city ordinance was authorized for the use of the property for church purposes. So that's what we're going to use as our begin date. On our timeline, next, let's find out when this church at 6500 West Fuquay, when this church was bought. And that would be our end point. Now, 6500 West Fuquay was bought on around August 24th or 25th of 2011. Okay, we know that. Now, that's going to be the end. So we have a beginning and we have an end. Okay. So with my investigation, what I've done is I've added the facts or the events that took place from when the dream became a reality to construct a church. And the end point is when we ended up using the money to buy a church. Okay? Now, like I said, we're just going to run through the events that happened and how did we end up actually buying a church 4.2 miles away. That's what we're going to look at. So, August 17, 2009, we know that there was a city ordinance giving us permission to use the property for church purposes. Now, April 6th of 2011, there was a construction permit granted, okay, to start work on the church. And on April 29th of 2011, there was a construction loan approved by HCB. Now, HCB stands for the Houston Community Bank. Houston Community Bank ആണ് നമുക്ക് ഈ പള്ളി ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ ഉള്ള ലോണിന്റെ ഇത് ഏർപ്പാട് ശരിയാക്കിയത്. So, and then we know that August 24th of 2011, there was a settlement or a HUD statement signed. Now, August 25th, 2011, there was a deed of trust for $1.8 million mortgaged to HCB, the Houston Community Bank, and other loan documents which are signed regarding this new property, this new church we bought at 6400 West Freeway. So that's that's the timeline, so to speak. So if everybody wants to take a look at that, we got August 17th, 2009. Then we got April 6th, 2011. The construction permit was granted. The construction loan was approved by ACB on April 29, 2011. Settlement HUD statement signed here August 24th. And then the deed of trust and the other loan documents were signed August 25th. So we can see that April 29th is when the construction loan was applied. It went into actually buying a church. Okay? So you see the difference, right? Construction in the Mari, we went to buying it. So that's what we're going to look at. Now, how was the construction loan used to buy a church? Okay. How did that happen? And was there a construction loan? When did it become a loan that was approved to buy the church? That's what we're going to look at next. So let's look at it a little closely. So we keep August 17th as the beginning of our timeline, and let's go ahead and fill in some more facts. April 29th of 2011, a construction loan was approved by HCB to construct the church here behind this building. And the next thing we know is August 25th, when the loan documents were signed, buying the church. So let's look at how that happened. How did the transition happen? June 7th or 9th, around that time, the city revoked the permit to construct the church behind the community center. We know that for a fact. And then we know that on July 22nd, 2011, the construction loan was canceled and a purchase loan was approved on the same day. Okay? Now, what happened in between? How did that happen? How did it jump from that to that? Because on July 18th of 2011, a commercial contract for improved property was executed. So there was a contract signed on July 18th, almost, I would say, a month before the loan documents were signed, and maybe a few days before the construction loan was approved, or the construction loan was canceled and the purchase loan was approved. There was a contract that was signed to purchase this property. Now let's look at the loan amounts very quickly. April 29th of 2011, a construction loan was approved by the Houston Community Bank for $1.8 million. അതായത് പള്ളി കൺസ്ട്രക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി നമുക്ക് കിട്ടിയ ലോൺ was in the amount of $1.8 million. Now, commercial contractum ഈ purchase loan sign ചെയ്തത് 18th of 22nd of July 2011. Our purchase loan wasn't the exact same amount of $1.8 million. So it was a same amount. Construct annual loan, purchase annual loan in the amount of $1.8 million. Now there's something else that happened in between here. On May 2nd, 2011, the New Life Missionary Baptist Church, which is the church, the nonprofit corporation that owned this property at 6400 West Freeway, which we bought, they filed for bankruptcy. Okay? And the money they owe this bank, the Houston Community Bank, was exactly also in the amount of $1.8 million. Okay, so we got a construction loan approved, and how did it end up being a commercial purchase loan? $1.8 million. And in between, maybe 2 days after the construction loan was approved, the New Life Missionary Baptist Church, from whom we bought the property, they filed for bankruptcy, and $1.8 million was the exact amount that they owed the same bank. Now let's look at the flow of funds so we can get a better picture in case it is a little confusing. Okay? So we have the Houston Community Bank, we have the New Life Missionary Baptist Church on the right hand side, which is the church we bought. Then we have the mission. Now, the New Life Missionary Baptist Church, they owed the Houston Community Bank $1.8 million. Okay. They had a lien on this property. HCB had a lien on this property for $1.8 million. Next, HCB loans the mission $1.8 million. Now this property, I want to explain again, the New Life Missionary Baptist Church is deep in bankruptcy procedure. So along with the $1.8 million they owe the bank, they have other loans and liens and judgments against them for their other amounts. Okay, so they owe them 1.8. We get a loan from HCB for 1.8. Now, together with the almost $800,000+ that the people donated to construct the church, they combined that, and it was given to the New Life Missionary Baptist Church. Okay? And then New Life Missionary Baptist Church gave the $1.8 million back to the Houston Community Bank. So I don't know if that kind of explains it. The diagram is kind of... So they owe them 1.8. We got a loan, we gave it to them, and they used that, they gave it back to them. Okay, so that's what happened. Now, the New Life Missionary Baptist Church, who are they and what do we know about them? ആദ്യമായിട്ടാണോ ഈ ന്യൂ ലൈഫിനായിട്ട് ബിസിനസ് ഡീലിങ്സ് ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത്, or do we have you had a relationship with them before? Okay, that's another thing I looked into. So let's kind of look at that a little closer. The New Life Missionary Baptist Church, let's call it the New Life Church. The pastor of this church, his name is Pastor Thomas Murray. Now, August 2011 was not the first time the Canaanite people have engaged in business dealings with them. We've had prior dealings with Pastor Thomas Murray before this. That's what I've found out from when I started looking into this. I don't know how many people were aware of that. I'm pretty sure some people were aware of that. I don't know how many people knew about that, but there have been dealings with Pastor Murray before with the Canaanite people. Pastor Murray also owned TLM Builders. He also has a construction business on the side, which was contracted to build the Canaanite Catholic Community Center, this building right here. He had his construction company was the same company that was hired to do some construction work to this very building that we're sitting in today. And in 2004, a lawsuit was filed by this very people against Pastor Murray because he breached that very contract that he had signed with our people. Now the project was delayed, and the city would not, it didn't pass any inspection. None of the city inspection would pass. That's why the problem we had with Pastor Murray at that time. That's why the lawsuit in 2004. Now, Pastor Murray's construction company also built 6400 West Fuquay Church. And we know that Pastor Murray, like I said, was deep in bankruptcy at the time. The Canaanite people purchased his church, which he built. Now, what else do we know about this New Life Church? When the Canaanite people bought the church, Pastor Murray had multiple judgments, mechanics liens, IRS liens against him, totaling over $2.1 million. So his corporation that was in bankruptcy owed all this money to all these people. Now, after the Canaanite people bought his church, okay, Pastor Murray got out of bankruptcy. He paid off all his debts, and he walked away with almost $700,000 in his pocket. Okay, so he was in bankruptcy. So we jump in, we pay all his money. He pays off all his debts. We get the property, and he walks away with $700,000.
Very good.
But our relationship with Pastor Murray did not end there. You know, you would think that it ends there, but it keeps going on. Okay. In 2012, Pastor Murray was again hired to work on a construction project on the new church we just bought from him. So after we bought this church from him and he walks away with $7,000, we hire him again to do more construction on the church we just bought from him. We paid him exactly, I think, $41,000. But like always, he did not complete the project. And on November 23rd, 2012, Attorney Philon Tran sent Pastor Murray a pre-suit notice on behalf of the Canaanite people. So that's some of the stuff we know regarding Pastor Murray. Now, when I started looking into this, the first thing I did was I decided to look into the appraisal on this property, on the 6400 West Fuquay. When I called the Fort Wayne County Appraisal District, okay, this is almost 2 years ago. 2 years ago that this was done, so I'm doing this now 2 years later. So when I called the Fort Wayne County Appraisal District, I asked them, I want to know more about the appraisal that was done on the property located at 6400 West Fuquay. And the appraisal people at the appraisal district said, you must be mistaken because there's no property located at 6400 West Fuquay. And I said, that is impossible because I have the deed sitting right in front of me. And they said, how's that possible? And I said, well, let's do something else. Let's look at it. Let's search by owner. Okay, that's much better. Thank you. So I said, let's look at let's do a search by the owner. Knanaya Catholic Mission, Houston, and search. Okay, so we did that. And they said, oh yeah, the Knanaya Catholic Mission, Houston, that name is coming up. But they don't own the property located at 6400 West Fuquay in our records. It shows that they own the property located at 7900 West Fuquay. And I thought, how is that possible? It says right here that it's 6400 West Fuquay that we bought. So I got on Google Map, and you can do the same. You can go on Google Map, and if you look up 7900 West Fuquay, it's also a church right down the street from 6400 West Fuquay. Okay? And when I looked into it a little further, 7900 West Fuquay was also a church which was owned by the same Pastor Murray. Okay, so he owned 7900 West Fuquay, and he also owned 6400 West Fuquay. They said it was a clerical mistake. You can see right there, very clear, it says owner information. Now, what that means is, if I have this property, and I have another property, and if I want the appraisal done on another property, when they're doing the appraisal on another property, on that appraisal card I can say that this is the property appraising, but the owner lives here in this address, at this address. Does everybody understand that? That ഒരു സ്ഥലത്ത് നമ്മൾ നോക്കുന്ന രണ്ട് പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി ഓൺ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ മറ്റേ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി അപ്രൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഉടനെ നമുക്ക് അതിൻ്റെ ആ അപ്രൈസൽ കാർഡ് നമുക്ക് എഴുതാം. അതായത് ഓണർ ഈ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി അപ്രൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നെങ്കിലും ഓണറിന്റെ അഡ്രസ്സ് വേറെ ഒന്നാണ്. But if you look at this one, I don't know if you can see clearly, it says the owner information. It says Knanaya Catholic Mission, Houston, 6400 West Fuquay Drive, Missouri City. That's the owner information. Okay? Now it's very easy to look past that if you don't know what you're looking for. It's very easy to not catch that. The property scientist address, which is the second circle that I've made. The scientist address is the property that's actually appraised. Okay? നമ്മളൊരു പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി അപ്രൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നേ ആ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടിയാണ് നമ്മൾ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി സൈറ്റ് ആയി വരുന്നത്. So the property that was appraised was 7900 Westview Way. When I asked them how that happened, they said it was a clerical mistake. They said it should be the right. And my question was, how do I know that you didn't appraise 7900 Westview Way when it says clearly that that's what you appraised? Just because the owner information is correct does not mean that you appraised the right property when it clearly says that the property that was appraised was 7900 Westview Way. They didn't give me a good explanation for that. And their question to me was, why do you care? Because you're not paying any taxes on this. Now usually for houses, for residential purposes, usually a question when your property is appraised, say, $100,000 appraised a year, you go there and say, $100,000 in the property, $100,000 in the property, because you don't want to pay taxes. So that's what they usually deal with on a regular basis. In this case, their question was, this is a non-profit corporation. You don't pay any taxes on it. So why do you care what amount the property is valued at? Okay? So that's one issue. You can form your own conclusions as to what that is. And like I said, I'm not doing anything but stating the facts, and I'm plugging it in to these different things so you have a better idea and you can come to your own conclusions. So let's go down a list of events that took place. Let's call them the timeline of events. September 30th, there was a writ of execution, order of sale issued by the District Court of Dallas against New Life Missionary Baptist Church. August 28, 2010, New Life property, the constable put a hold on it. There was a constable sale of New Life property at Fort Bend County Courthouse on December 7, 2010, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. March 2011, the fundraising starts here to construct the church right behind this community center. May, as you know, the New Life Missionary Baptist Church files for bankruptcy. Right after that, June 7th, the permit to build the church is revoked. June 24th, Jennifer Thomas, who is the Missouri City planner, and I'm pretty sure some of the committee members met with her and they talked to her. She indicates that even though the permit was revoked, it's not fatal. That means does not mean that it ends everything right there. It could have been fixed. It might take another 30, 35, maybe 40 days, and maybe a few $1,000s more. But it was not fatal, and it's not something that would have caused the construction to stop right there. Next, we'll see that the Knana Catholic Mission and the committee members were willing to proceed with the replanting option provided by Ms. Thomas. So the whole problem with that, with the reason why the city revoked the permit and all that, it was basically when you have two different entities in one property, because Knana Catholic Society owned all this land. And so when we applied for the permit, we were going to build a church under the Knana Catholic Mission's name. So when you have two different entities in one spot, it is the city's responsibility to make sure that you have enough parking space, that if it's landlocked like how it is now, either property or that property, so you have to provide easements, water line sewage facility so you have to be independent. So another thing was they gave a couple of options. One was to replant it, and that's option, I guess, that the committee members showed some interest to proceed with. That's what they're planning on proceeding with. July 4th, 2011, there was a general body meeting held without notifying the members or the parish council. July 18th, a commercial contract improved property was executed between certain people in authority for the mission and the New Life Missionary Baptist Church. July 21st, there was a letter from the trustee in charge and secretary to the Houston Community Bank notifying them that a general body meeting approval was not given as per procedure, and asked that the bank not let any money out. This is the people's money. The people should have been asked permission before such a decision was made. And all we're asking is that you hold the account, hold the money. Now, don't stop the money from coming in. If you're going to make a deposit, let it come in. But don't pay anything with that money without, unless we give you an approval after a general body meeting. And that was July 21st. July 22nd, another attorney, other than Philon Tran, sends a cease and desist letter to the mission director, to one of the co-trustees, to Bishop Angadia and Father Matola regarding the 6400 West Freeway. So a cease and desist letter is something that says, stop what you're doing because you haven't followed procedure. You have to do this, if not, this will be a problem. So that letter was sent on July 22nd. On July 28, 2011, members signed a request to the mission director asking for a general body meeting, and I think around 137 families, something like that, signed that request. August 9, 2011, so I think I skipped a slide here. August 29th, the title insurance was purchased for the property. August 2nd, there was a letter to the bank saying to hold the funds until there is a general body meeting. This is another letter that was sent to the Houston Community Bank. August 3rd, 2011, signatures of members sent to bank in support of the August 2nd letter. The August 2nd letter tried to support, to show that, okay, this is what the people want. A whole bunch of signatures were sent in support of that letter, which was sent on August 2nd. On August 4th, 2011, there was a meeting between the committee members, the HKCS attorney, and city officials regarding the permit. And they said that the permit will be valid if the land is deeded back to HKCS, or a new permit can be granted if you replat it, provide easements for drainage and utilities, and submit the building plans to the city again. So like I said, they were presented with a couple of different options, and from what it looks like, the committee members were kind of moving towards the second option, to replat it. On August 5th, 2011, there was an email from the trustee in charge to the bank clarifying that he does not want to stop the loan process, but just prevent disbursement of funds until a proper general body meeting. Now, what you're going to understand is that we're now in August. I don't know if you remember from the previous slides, around July 22nd was when the construction loan was canceled and the new loan was approved to buy the church. So not many people knew about this. Not even the trustee in charge, other trustees, or basically the people should have known about that. Now, August 7th, there was a request by members to hold a general body meeting and not disperse the funds that they donated. This letter also was sent out. August 9th, we can see that a letter was sent to the bishop asking for his help in this matter. August 9th again, there was a meeting held at the community center with 52 families requesting a general body meeting and that the church be built next to the community center. So what we're seeing that the people are trying to hold a general body meeting, sending letters out, asking whoever the people are in authority to give them a chance to have a general body meeting, or at least make a decision after a general body meeting is called. August 11, 2011, there were a few letters sent from the members of the residents of the Knanai homes with signatures to the mission director, telling him that this is where we plan to have the Dream Church. That's one of the reasons why we moved here from all across the U.S. And we're asking that you build a Dream Church behind the community center. On August 16, 2011, the mission director promises to contact whoever is higher than him before making a decision, and that he would not make a decision without having a general body meeting. So he told that to the members of this community. On August 24th, almost a week later, the deed was executed, selling the church to us, to the Knanai Catholic Mission. So August 24th, when the documents were signed, the deed was executed. Now you gotta understand, do you remember how the New Life Missionary Baptist Church was already in bankruptcy? So they filed for bankruptcy May 2nd, they've been in bankruptcy all this time, okay? Now they're still in bankruptcy when the contract was executed, and on the 24th, when the deed was executed, they're still in bankruptcy. And on that same day, an emergency motion to dismiss was filed in bankruptcy court. And I'll read you a couple of lines from that. So this is the emergency motion to dismiss. It says, in regards to the New Life Missionary Baptist Church, debtor filed this voluntary Chapter 11 case on May 2nd, 2011. Debtor has negotiated the sale to sell his real property for $2,691,000. A copy of the settlement statement for the sale is attached as Exhibit A. The proceeds from the sale will be used to pay all of the creditors in this case in full, which makes this case no longer necessary. All creditors in this case will be paid in full from the proceeds of the sale. The sale of the property is pending the dismissal of this case, and the buyer may be lost if the case is not expeditiously dismissed. Dismissal is in the best interest of the creditors and parties in interest. Wherefore, premises considered, the New Life Missionary Baptist Church prays that this court expeditiously enter an order dismissing the case without prejudice. So that means that they're saying that we have a buyer right here, right now, wanting to buy this property. And if you don't get out of bankruptcy, then we will lose this buyer. And this is great because if we've negotiated a sale and we've attached the settlement statement, if they buy this property for this amount, it's great for all the parties involved because we can pay all our debtors in full and we won't have to be in bankruptcy anymore. So that's what it means. Now that is Pastor Murray. Now, this is a question we come to. Whoever was making these decisions, I think that's what the people had in mind, should they have known about all these issues? The people who are making a decision for all these people regarding the money, not their own money, but the money that was given by all these people, should they have known about these issues? Now the more important question is, did these people actually know about these issues? The fact that they were in bankruptcy, there were liens, etc., etc. The fact that we've had problems with this Pastor Murray before. And so let's look at that. So we know from the beginning of our timeline that the city ordinance authorizing use of the property for church purposes was granted August 17th. Now in July of 2011, and I'm pretty sure if you don't know who Attorney Philon Tran is, from what I was saying earlier, Attorney Philon Tran was the attorney who's been representing the community for years and years. And so this is, now whatever Attorney Philon Tran said, I'm quoting that. This is not something I wrote, or these are not my words. Okay? All I have done so far, and all I will be doing, is I'm just stating the facts as they are. Okay? That's why, if you've noticed, I've not included a single name in my entire investigation. Okay? So July 2011, Attorney Philon Tran was asked to review the commercial contract. Do you remember the commercial contract they signed on in July? Multiple revisions were suggested by Attorney Philon Tran. Okay, she said, okay, no, this does not work. This commercial contract cannot be signed like this. You have to make these revisions. But they were all rejected. Okay. The proposed revisions that Philon Tran suggested. This is me quoting from the legal memo that she sent me. Okay. It says, I was concerned about the dealing with Pastor Murray because of the prior bad history in which Knanaya Catholic Community Center, Inc. had with them as a general contractor. I had learned that Pastor Murray was sometimes unreliable and not straightforward in his business dealings. I had asked either Mr. Jacob and or Mr. Joseph to consider a longer feasibility period of 60 days to 90 days in order to check out the property thoroughly, and provided Knanaya Catholic Mission of Houston with adequate time to back out of the contract if the property is not suitable. So what she's saying that she asked Mr. Jacob and or Mr. Joseph to consider a longer feasibility period of 60 days to 90 days. Give us 90 days so we can look, so we can go back and have the people look at this property, see if it's actually feasible, see if it actually meets the requirements, what the people are looking for. It meets the requirements of the people. And so, and also the fact that it would give the people or the mission enough time to back out of this deal if needs be. So basically what she was trying to say was, why are you rushing in? Don't rush in. There's no point in rushing in. Okay? So it's not like this is, we had to do this right now. That's what she was telling them basically. Just wait. Let's look at everything before we jump into this. I had further suggested via electronic mail to Mr. Jasim Jacob and or Mr. Babu Joseph, and followed by telephone conversations, that the Knanaya Catholic Mission have the building committee to evaluate the subject property thoroughly. Then the building committee would have to present its findings to the general body. This had been done as a standard practice when the Knanaya Catholic Community Center was built. So she was involved in the property dealings when this property was bought. So what she was basically telling them was, hold off, let's do the same thing that we did when we bought this property to make sure it fits everything, then we run it by the, let's tell the general body, let's have a general body meeting and let the people decide. That's what she was trying to tell them. Next she says, I had expressed concerns either via telephone or by emails to Mr. Babu Joseph and or Mr. Jason Jacob that the feasibility period was too short and perhaps inadequate to do the financing, inspection, and appraisal work. Now you got to understand, this is almost a $3 million worth of property, okay? And to people who own real estate, or if you even bought a house, you know that it's almost impossible. And it's usually not a good idea to do something within a period of maybe 2 to 3 weeks or a month. It's usually impossible, but even if you can, you would not want to do that. That's what she's saying, that it's inadequate. The time is not enough. My suggestions were ignored because Mr. Babu Joseph said that the priest and the bishop were anxious to move on with the acquisition of the subject property. According to Mr. Joseph's statement, the bishop had provided written notice that a separate facility was needed for Sunday Mass service, and a Knanaya Catholic Mission of Houston could not continue with using the Knanaya Catholic Community Center. So that's what she said. She said, as per Mr. Babu Joseph's statement, this was what was told to him. Now let's go back to our timeline again. So we've seen all the stuff before. Now let's look at July 18th, 2011. So we just got done talking about July 2011, the commercial contract on the improved property. That's what we just got done talking about. July 18th, the commercial contract, improved property executed. July 26, 2011, Attorney Philom Tran declines to represent the mission when the cease and desist letter was sent by Attorney Todd Hobbs to stop the purchase of the church. Okay? So what that means is, remember when the attorney sent that letter saying, stop what you're doing? The letter was sent to the mission director, the co-trustee, Bishop Amadiath, and Father Muthol. That letter, she's talking about that letter in this instance. When that letter was sent out, the committee members, a couple individuals went to Attorney Philom Tran and said, we want you to represent us in responding to this letter. They basically went and asked her for advice on how we should respond to this. So we know that they got that letter, for sure. And she said, I'm not going to represent you in this. So that's what we're going to look at. We're talking about the cease and desist letter. Mr. Bobby Joseph had forwarded to my attention a copy of the cease and desist letter from Mr. Todd Hobbs representing some resigned trustee members. I had declined representation in this matter as I had not been privy to the discussions of the Board of Trustees and had never seen any minutes regarding the discussion of the acquisition of the subject property. So she said, I was never involved in this, nobody came and asked me any kind of advice, I don't know what's going on, and plus I've not seen any minutes regarding any decisions that were taken. Next, she says, either Mr. Babu Joseph or Mr. Jasim Jacob did ask me about the issue of the donations given by the church's members for the construction of the church. So basically the question was, remember some letters were sent out by the people saying, we gave you this money to do something and you used it for something else. Money was collected from the people for something and it was used for something else. So the people asked for the money back. And so the question to Philom Tran, Ms. Tran, was, how should we respond to this? Should we give the money back or what should we do? I have responded that if the donations were earmarked for a specific purpose, such as construction of the church, then the Kananai Catholic Mission of Houston would have to obtain consent from those donors regarding the change of the purpose, that is, purchasing a real property for a church instead of constructing a church. So Attorney Philom Tran told these individuals at that time that if you are going to use this money that was given to you for a certain purpose, and if the people, especially since the people have asked you, and if you are thinking of using it for something else, then you have to get the permission of the people. So, for example, ambassador medican paisa iduvanagi, theater medican. You see what I'm saying? So it's like kind of like that. So you have to, if I'm giving you something for something, like if I'm making a certain amount of payment, I'm trusting you with something, you have to ask the people before you go ahead and use that money for something else. That's all she's saying here. Under the Internal Revenue Code regulating 501c nonprofit corporations, the donors would have the right to ask for their charitable contributions back if the monies were used for something other than what they had earmarked for. So she's saying that, as per the IRC regulations, if somebody's making a contribution, and especially if, they were asked to make a donation that's being used for something else, etc., then the people have a right to ask for that money back. That's what she's saying. Now, this is all Philom Tran's, from Philom Tran's, Ms. Tran's letter. Now let's go back to our timeline again. Let's look at July 29th of 2011. Attorney Philom Tran reviews the title commitment report and finds severe problems. She's given the title commitment report and she looks through it and she finds a lot of problems with it. And when she voiced her concern as to those problems, they were ignored. So let's look at what she says about that. Problems with the title report. I discovered that there were numerous liens and abstracts of judgments from subcontractors and or vendors on Schedule C of the title commitment report. In addition, there was also a pending Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceeding filed by seller, New Life Missionary Baptist Church, and to which seller had failed to disclose on the commercial contract improved property. So she's talking about that commercial contract which was signed on July 18th, which she looked at, and she had problems with that. Now, when she saw this 10, 11 days later, when she sees the title commitment report, she said, wait a minute, there are a whole bunch of problems. Also, they never, they're supposed to say that they're in bankruptcy. They haven't even said that. Okay. I was even more concerned as to the numerous liens and seller's failure to disclose the value of Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and expressed all of these concerns to Mr. Baba Joseph not to move forward on the purchase of the subject property until seller and Pastor Murray had cleared all of those items and had to obtain permission from the U.S. Bankruptcy Court before they could move forward with the purchase of the property. So she was basically voicing a concern as to what they should have done, like what the seller would have to do, the procedure that has to be followed. Okay, they'd have to take care of all the liens before and get permission. Now you got to understand that this bankruptcy proceeding was initiated, if you remember, I think it was May 2nd. This was 2 days after the bank had approved the loan, the construction loan initially. So the bank approves the loan, April 29th. May 2nd, this property files for bankruptcy. Now, when you file for bankruptcy, I don't know, I'm not a legal expert, I don't do bankruptcy law, but from the very basics I know, when you file for bankruptcy, what happens is, if you owe a lot of people a lot of money, and they have judgments on you, they have gone to court, and they've won cases against you, and they're coming to grab your property now. If you file for bankruptcy, you can stop all that. You freeze everything. Okay? It gives you a little breather. It gives you a little time to do what you need to do to take care of your stuff. That's what bankruptcy proceeding does. After that conversation with Mr. Baba Joseph, I did not hear any more from either Mr. Jacob or Mr. Joseph. In fact, the Knanai Catholic Mission of Houston proceeded to close on the subject property without further consulting with me for a legal opinion. As of to date, I have never seen the signed closing documents on the subject property. Now, when I first started my presentation, these were two of the questions that the people had for me, or the reason why I was retained, my firm was retained to do this investigation. How did this happen? And was anything done which was improper? Okay. So, like I said, we went down the facts, and now I've given you the basic set of facts. You don't want to see the hundreds and hundreds of pages, but from the very facts, I've gone through a list of facts. Now, I'm not saying it was this or it was that. Okay. So today what I've done is I've used a couple of solid facts to show you the sequence of events from when it was approved, how did it happen, and when the church was bought. Okay? The question you have, the second question that you have, which is, was anything done which was improper? That is not my decision to make. That is your decision to make. You wanted the facts, I've given you the facts. Okay? It was the people's money, and the people decide what they want to do and how they want to proceed. I'll take a few questions, but I'm not going to answer any questions. I'm not going to make any legal conclusions. And I hope I've kept it as simple as I possibly could. And I hope it made sense to everybody. Thank you. Sure.
You said there was a chapter for 11 bankruptcy filed by Pastor Gray, right?
Yeah. Can you say the name, Mr. Virapana?
Yeah, I'm talking.
Okay.
Can you explain what is that chapter 11 bankruptcy?
Like I said, all I know,
Can you define what is that?
like I said, I'm not a bankruptcy expert. All I know is just when somebody's coming after you when you cannot pay your debts, it's a legal process whereby whoever the debtor is, they get some kind of relief to sort out their business issues. That's what it is. When you cannot pay off your bills, basically. Sure.
There was a buyer and seller agreement there, and there was a buyer-seller agreement, I think, involved in this property,
Yeah.
in this purchase. I didn't hear from council any real estate agent or broker involved in this, or any real estate firm was involved in this. And what was their role? How they deal with the buyer and seller, or what was their agreement? I didn't hear anything from you.
Okay. Now there was apparently a realtor who was part of this, and as Phil and Tran mentioned, I think it was Mr. Babu Joseph. He was a realtor, and from the settlement statement, what I could see was that the commission from the sale was actually given back to the bank. That's what it shows on the settlement statement. Now, as to the legal consequences or any violations of fiduciary duty regarding if he should have let the general body know, if that would make him an interested party when he is in a fiduciary duty relationship, I'm not going to look into that right now.
What's the legal address of St. Mary's Canaan Catholic Church?
It's 6400 West Freeport, so yes. Yes, Mr. Michael. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
ഞങ്ങൾ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള റിപ്പോർട്ട് തയ്യാറാക്കി ഈ പറയുന്ന ബാബു ജോസഫുമായിട്ടും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ജേക്കബുമായിട്ടും സംസാരിച്ച് ഇതേപ്പറ്റി സ്റ്റഡി ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണോ തയ്യാറാക്കിയത് അതോ ആരെങ്കിലും പറയുന്നത് കേട്ടത് മാത്രം തയ്യാറാക്കിയ റിപ്പോർട്ടാണ്?
ഞാൻ പറയുന്ന കേട്ടല്ല, നമ്മൾ പറയുന്ന കേട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ അറിയുന്നത് എവിടെയാണ് നോക്കണമെന്നുള്ളത്. സോ നമ്മൾ the question is
ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് ഈ ബാബു ജോസഫുമായിട്ടും മറ്റേ ജേക്കബുമായിട്ടും ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്ത ശേഷമാണോ ഇങ്ങനൊരു, അതോ മറ്റാരെങ്കിലും പറഞ്ഞ് നിങ്ങളെ ധരിപ്പിച്ചതിൻ്റെ പേരിൽ മാത്രം ഉണ്ടാക്കിയ ഒരു റിപ്പോർട്ടാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ വെച്ചത്?
Good question. Now that's important. അതായത് ഞാനൊരു ന്യൂട്രൽ പൊസിഷൻ നോക്കുന്നതാണ്. I have to look at every single angle. So ഞാൻ കാണിച്ച പോലെ everything I have done, I have not made any conclusions myself. All I have done is taken the various documents, which I'm pretty sure you have not seen, or you might not have seen. Very few people have seen, I guess. And I've analyzed that. Now it would have been great if I could have talked to either Mr. Babu Joseph or Mr. Jassim Jacob, and my request to talk to Mr. Jassim Jacob was denied by his attorney. So I could not talk to him. So I requested to talk to him, and they said that we're not going to let you talk to him. So it's a good question. I would have, at least I thought, since I'm playing in neutral, let me get this side and let me get this side. So I was not given an opportunity to do that. And also, yeah, Mr. Alinko, you had a question? Yeah, sure.
ഈ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി വിൽക്കാനും വാങ്ങാനും എങ്ങനെ ഗവൺമെൻറ് അനുവാദമുണ്ടോ? ബാങ്ക്രപ്സി ആയ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി വിൽക്കുകയോ വാങ്ങുകയോ ചെയ്യാവുന്ന ബാങ്ക് ക്ലിയറൻസ് ആകാതുകൊണ്ട് വാങ്ങാനോ വിൽക്കാനോ പറ്റും?
അത് ക്ലിയറൻസ് ആയല്ലോ. നമ്മൾ കണ്ടായിരുന്നല്ലോ, ഓഗസ്റ്റ് 24 അവരൊരു എമർജൻസി മോഷൻ ഫയൽ ചെയ്തു. അതായത് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇപ്പം ബാങ്ക്രപ്സി വാങ്ങണം, ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു പേർച്ചസ് ഉണ്ട്. സോ അതിൻ്റെ ഓർഡർ വന്നത് പിറ്റേ ദിവസമാണ് 25-ാം തീയതി ഓഗസ്റ്റ് 25, 2011 അതിൻ്റെ ഓർഡർ.
അപ്പൊ ഇത് നടത്തിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ബിസിനസ് നടത്തിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന അവസരത്തിൽ അച്ഛൻ പള്ളിയെ വിളിച്ചു പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു, നമ്മളായിരിക്കുന്ന ബാബു അല്ലാതെ വേറെ ആരും ഈ മനുഷ്യനായിട്ട് ഈ പാസ്റ്ററുമായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കാൻ പാടില്ല. പാസ്റ്റർ 6 നിങ്ങളുടെ 6.5 ആയിട്ട് അയാൾ വാക്കൗട്ടായി പോയി കഴിഞ്ഞു. അപ്പൊ ഇവർക്ക് എന്തുണ്ട്? എന്തിനാണ് ഇവരിത് വാങ്ങിച്ചത്? ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള സെക്രട്ടറി മനുഷ്യ ഈ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റിയെ നശിപ്പിക്കുകയല്ലേ ചെയ്തത്, ഇവിടെ കഴുത്തിന് കത്തി വെക്കുകയല്ലേ ചെയ്തത്.
ഐ അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ്. അതൊരു ഇമോഷണൽ ആയിട്ടൊരു സബ്ജക്റ്റ് ആണ്. നമുക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒരു നമ്മുടെ എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇമോഷണൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഇതാണ്. പക്ഷേ അച്ഛൻ അങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞതിൻ്റെ കാര്യമോ പിന്നെ കാരണമോ അതിൻ്റെ കോൺസിക്വൻസോ ഇപ്പം ഞാനിപ്പോൾ പാസ്റ്ററോട് ചോദിക്കുക, നീ എന്തിനാണ് ഈ $700,000 എനിക്ക് $1 million കിട്ടിയത്, ഞാൻ എന്ത് കാണിച്ചു, എൻ്റെ റിസീറ്റ് കാണിച്ചെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പുള്ളി വല്ലതും പറയും എന്നോട്. സോ ഇപ്പം ഐ അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് ദി ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആസ് ടു എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഇത്
1.6 ബാങ്ക്രപ്സി കിടന്ന ഈ ഐറ്റം ഒരു അല്പം കൂടെ ക്ഷമിച്ചാൽ 1.6 നമുക്ക് കിട്ടില്ലായിരുന്നു, വാങ്ങിക്കാൻ പറഞ്ഞല്ലോ, അല്ലാതെ മേടിക്കാൻ പോയത്. അപ്പൊ അത്
understand the question, പക്ഷേ this is what you have to understand. അതായത് നമ്മളൊരു ലോ സൂട്ട് ഫയൽ ചെയ്തിട്ട് നമുക്ക് കിട്ടുന്ന എവിഡൻസും നമ്മൾ ലോ സൂട്ട് ഫയൽ ചെയ്യാതെ കിട്ടുന്ന എവിഡൻസും ഈ വളരെയധികം വ്യത്യാസമുണ്ട്. അതായത്
ഹലോ, ആസ് എ ലീഗൽ എക്സ്പെർട്ട് ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേഷൻ ടീമിന്റെ ലീഡർ എന്നുള്ള നിലയിലും ഇന്നിപ്പോ ഇവിടെ കൂടിയിരിക്കുന്ന ആളുകളുടെ മുഴുവൻ പള്ളിപ്രേമികളും പള്ളിപ്രേമമില്ലാത്തവരും ഇതിന് രണ്ടിനോടും പ്രേമമുള്ളവരും എല്ലാവരും ഇവിടെ കൂടിയിരിക്കുന്നത് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഈ പള്ളി മേടിച്ചതിലല്ല എന്തൊക്കെയോ സംഭവിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട് എന്ന് വളരെ വ്യക്തമാണ്. അത് ഇതിനകത്ത് നിങ്ങൾ ഒത്തിരി കാണിച്ചു. ഇതൊക്കെ ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന ആളുകൾക്ക് പലർക്കും അറിയാവുന്ന കാര്യമാണ്. ഇപ്പൊ ദോശയോട് ചോദിച്ച രണ്ടാമത്തെ ആവർത്തനമാണത്. പിന്നെയും പിന്നെയും അത് ചോദിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് വല്ല കാര്യമുണ്ടോ? ആസ് എ ലീഗൽ എക്സ്പെർട്ട് താങ്കൾക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും 1 വേർഡിലോ 1 സെന്റൻസിലോ 2 സെന്റൻസിലോ ഇതിനെന്ത് മാർഗമുണ്ട് എന്ന് അറിയുവാൻ വേണ്ടിയും കൂടിയാണ് ഞാനും ഇവിടെ വന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇത് കേൾക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങിയിട്ട് 2-3 കൊല്ലമായി. പള്ളി അങ്ങ് മുന്നോട്ടും പോകും, നമ്മൾ കുറെ പേര് മരിച്ചു പോകും. അതുകൊണ്ട് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഇതിനകത്തൊരു തീരുമാനം ഇതുകൊണ്ടുണ്ടാകുമോ, എന്തെങ്കിലും ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കുമോ എന്നുള്ളൊരു കൺക്ലൂഷൻ നിങ്ങളുടെ ഭാഗത്തു നിന്ന് കിട്ടി. ഇതിന്ന് ഒഴിവാകണം എന്നാണ്. ജോൺ സാറേ, ഇങ്ങനെയോട് ഇരിപ്പുണ്ടല്ലോ. ജോൺ സാറേ, ഇങ്ങനെ ഒന്നും പറയാനില്ലേ? കള്ളന്റെ കൂട്ട് അവിടെ ഇരിക്കും. അപ്പൊ ഇത് ഞാൻ തമാശയായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞെങ്കിൽ പോലും മോനെ, ഞാൻ തമാശയായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞെങ്കിലും അത് ഹൃദയത്തിന്റെ വേദനയുണ്ട്. ഈ പള്ളി മേടിച്ചത് ഞാൻ 1 മുതൽ പള്ളിയിൽ പോകുന്നയാളാണ്, പള്ളിക്കെതിരുള്ളയാളല്ല. പക്ഷേ പള്ളി പോകാതിരുന്നൊരു കാര്യമുണ്ടോ? ഇല്ല. പള്ളിയും ഇതെല്ലാം ആവശ്യമാണ്. പക്ഷെ ഇങ്ങനെ മുന്നോട്ട് പോയാൽ എന്താ ഇതിന്റെ ആവശ്യം? എവിടെ ചെന്ന് അവസാനിക്കും? ബാബുവാണോ യാസിമാണോ ആരാധനകളുടെ പ്രശ്നമൊന്നും നമുക്ക് ഇതുവരെ നിങ്ങൾ ഈ എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്തതിനകത്ത് ഒന്നും ഇതുവരെ വ്യക്തമായിട്ട്. എനിക്ക് പിന്നെ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് അധികം പിടിയില്ല, ഞാൻ തമിഴ്നാട്ടിൽ നിന്നുള്ളൊരു MP യാണ്, അതുകൊണ്ടായിരിക്കും. പക്ഷേ എങ്കിൽ പോലും കുറച്ചുകൂടി വ്യക്തമായിട്ട്, താങ്കൾക്ക് മലയാളം അറിയാമല്ലോ, കുറെ കൂടെ വ്യക്തമായിട്ട് ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന ആളുകൾക്ക് അത് കുറച്ചുകൂടി സിമ്പിളായ ഭാഷയിൽ അത് പറഞ്ഞു കൊടുത്താൽ നന്നായിരിക്കും. ഞങ്ങൾക്കൊക്കെ നാളെ കാണേണ്ടിയവരാണ്. ഞാൻ നാളെ മരിച്ചു പോയി എബിയൊക്കെ എന്നെ ഒന്ന് ചുംബിക്കും അല്ലേ? അപ്പൊ അതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ ഒന്ന് മൂത്രം ഒഴിക്കട്ടെ.
ഇത്രയും നീണ്ട ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ചോദിച്ചല്ലേ, എന്നാ കേട്ടിട്ട് പോകും. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ വെയിറ്റ് ചെയ്യാം, പോയിട്ട് പോവാം. ഓക്കെ, ബേസിക്കലി സിമ്പിളായിട്ട് പറയുന്നത്, ഒരു സിമ്പിളായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ആണെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് സിമ്പിളായിട്ട് പറയാം. ഇപ്പം 2-3 വർഷം എടുത്ത് സിമ്പിളാക്കാൻ ഒത്തിരി പേര് നോക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ടല്ലോ. ഞാൻ ഏറ്റവും സിമ്പിളായിട്ടാണ് ഇതാക്കിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇതിൻ്റെ പുറകിലുള്ള ഫ്ലഫും ഇതിൻ്റെ വേറെ കാര്യങ്ങളും വേണ്ടാത്തതും മനുഷ്യർ പറയുന്നതും അവരുടെ ഹേർട്ടും എല്ലാം മാറ്റിയിട്ട് ഞാൻ വെറും ഒരു ഏറ്റവും സിമ്പിളായിട്ടുള്ള രീതിയിലാണ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഞാനിത് ഏറ്റെടുത്ത ഉടനെ എന്നോട് ചോദിച്ചത് ഇത് ലോസുട്ട് ഫൈറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനോ അല്ല. എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞത് ഒരു ഇൻഡിപെൻഡൻ്റ് കൗൺസിലായിട്ടുള്ളത് ടേക്ക് എ ലുക്ക് അറ്റ് ദിസ്, എന്നാണ് ഇത് ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് ഫാക്ട്സ് സംഭവിച്ചത്. എന്നിട്ട് ഐ അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് ഓരോരുത്തരുടെയും വിഷമവും ആ ഫീലിങ്സും അറിയാം. ബട്ട് the decision has to be made by the people. അതായത് what are the options now എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ there could be different options. You have every right as the members of this corporation to possibly talk to the Fort Bend County DA's office. That is one option. If you feel like there was something that happened, okay, you can always talk to the DA's office to start a criminal investigation. That's number one. Number two, you can talk to the Texas Attorney General. You can talk to the Texas Attorney General's office because they handle a lot of investigations regarding non-profit corporation. Okay. Number three, regarding the real estate transaction that was done, you can always make a complaint to the Texas Real Estate Commission. Now you have to understand that these are all independent agencies or departments, so they will look into this. ഇപ്പം ഒന്നോ രണ്ടോ പേരോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇത്രയും വിഷമമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ you can all put together something and send it off and they will look at it. Okay, so if that's what you feel, that's an option, to have them investigate it on a different angle. Mr. Uncle?
പ്രസന്റേഷൻ്റെ രണ്ട് കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്. ഒന്ന്, ഫിലോൻട്രാന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു അവർ ക്ലോസിംഗ് കണ്ടില്ല, അല്ലെ ക്ലോസിംഗ് ഡോക്യുമെന്റ്സിൽ ഇൻവോൾവ് അല്ല. ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ നമ്പർ 1, ഇപ്പോഴും അവർ നമ്മുടെ ലീഗൽ കൗൺസിലാണോ? 2, ആരാണ് നമ്മളെ റെപ്രസെന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ക്ലോസിംഗിന്? അവരല്ലായിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നോ എന്നുള്ളത് ഒന്ന്. വേറൊരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ എനിക്കുള്ളത്, ഇതിൻ്റെ അകത്ത് പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നത് ഫിലോൻട്രാന് മിനിറ്റ്സോ മറ്റു കാര്യങ്ങളോ കാണാൻ പറ്റിയിരുന്നില്ല എന്നുള്ളത്. അപ്പം നിങ്ങൾ ഈ ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേഷൻ നടത്തിയപ്പോൾ പള്ളിയുടെ ഭാഗത്തു നിന്നുള്ള സ്റ്റാൻഡ്, മിനിറ്റ്സും മറ്റു കാര്യങ്ങളും കണ്ടിട്ട് പള്ളിയുടെ ഭാഗത്തുണ്ടായ നീക്കങ്ങൾ എന്താണെന്നൂടെ മനസ്സിലാക്കിയിട്ടാണോ ഈ ഒരു ഇത് ഇവിടെ തന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്? അതോ ഇതൊരു വൺ സൈഡഡ് ഇതുകൊണ്ടാണോ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്?
ഗുഡ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ. ഫസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ഓൾ, ഫിലോൺട്രാൻ അല്ലായിരുന്നു വക്കീല്, അത് സെല്ലറിൽ തന്നെ വേറൊരു വക്കീലാണ് റിപ്രസെന്റ് ചെയ്തത്. നമുക്കൊരു റിയൽറ്റർ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു നമ്മുടെ സൈഡിൽ റിപ്രസെന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. നെക്സ്റ്റ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആസ് ആരാണ് ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ മിഷനെ റെപ്രസെന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന മിഷന്റെ വക്കീൽ ആരാണെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അത് മിസ്റ്റർ ടോം എഡോൾഫ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഒരാളാണ്. മിസ്റ്റർ ടോം എഡോൾഫ്. ആൻഡ് യുവർ തേർഡ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ, ഇത് ഞാനൊരു വൺ സൈഡഡ് ആയിട്ടാണോ എനിക്ക് മിഷന്റെ മിനിറ്റ്സും പേപ്പർ വർക്ക് നോക്കിയിട്ട് രണ്ട് സൈഡിൽ നോക്കിയിട്ടുള്ള ഡിസിഷനാണ് എടുത്തതെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ it would have been great if at least my fifth request to look at the minutes of the meeting were granted. Okay? There were multiple attempts that I made asking permission to look at the documents of the non-profit corporation, of the Knanai Catholic Mission. But those requests are denied. And a couple of the requests, the response that came back had a non-disclosure clause in there. That even if I look at these documents, I'll know it, but I will not be able to disclose it to even one member. I had to sign that piece of paper. I was doing this investigation for the people, and I felt like, what am I going to gain from going through the minutes or whatever it is if I am prevented from disclosing it with the members who wanted me to do the investigation in the first place. So yes, I did try to make attempts to talk to people which were denied by their attorneys. I did attempt, I sent multiple letters, notices to inspect corporate documents, which were denied. Some of them, the last few, they would have let me take a look at it, but they said that I will have to sign a non-disclosure statement whereby they could move legal actions against me if I disclosed it to even one member of the Knanaya Catholic Mission, the non-profit corporation. So, yes, I did try.
Did you find out the real value of this property, or what is the real value of this church?
Yeah, now the real value of the church, do you mean the real value of?
The location, the neighborhood, because in Texas, each place is a different price.
It is a different price. That's a good question. The question is, were we able to determine the real value of the property? 64, I'm assuming it's 64 West Freeway. Now, to answer, one second, let me answer this question. To answer that question, you have to, 65 West Freeway if it was not in bankruptcy or if it was in bankruptcy. Now that's the question, right? So, bankruptcy illatta property, the property, so that's why I looked at the appraisal district in Okadamuki. Obviously, going off of that, even though the addresses were wrong on there, which they said was
It's cheating, right?
well, I don't know. It's just a clerical mistake. Could be a clerical mistake. That's what they've said. But I don't know. I just pointed out what I saw and what I talked to them.
Obviously, it's wrong, right?
Well, they fixed it. When I pointed it out, they said it was a clerical mistake, and somebody circled that, and they did send me the correct address like 5 minutes later. They just changed the name, the address, and sent it back. But the question is, why would they? The question that was asked me over and over again was, why do you care? You don't pay any property taxes on this property. How much do you want? What is the problem? That's what the question. I saw a couple. I think there was somebody over there on that side.
Sir, I have a question to you.
Sure.
You are giving this information
Yes.
as a Knanaya member or just as an attorney?
I don't. I became an attorney not very long ago, but from the time I was born, I was Knanaya. So I don't think that in any way affected my judgment. But right now, I'm speaking, I guess, as both, I guess, without taking any sides or being asked, because at the end of the day, like I said, this is a very emotional subject, okay? And the purpose of this investigation, the result should be, the end game should be to bring people together instead of cutting people out. That's the way I've done this, okay? Instead of, let it be transparent, let everybody know, okay? I'm trying to be as transparent as possible without alienating anybody. I've given people the chance. So I guess you could say today I'm speaking to you as a Knanaya attorney.
Knanaya attorney?
Sure.
So do you think that this will make the people together?
That's what I hope it will. Because like I said, the people, it was my understanding that the people did not know much about what exactly happened, even the sequence of events, because it was very tedious to go over it. So all I've done is I compiled it together, so at least they know how it happened, the sequence of events. So, and if they have any other questions, it kind of settles that thought, I guess. Not knowing something makes it even worse, so that's what I've done so far. Now, like I said, it's up to the people to decide what they want to do. That's not my decision, because and that's why I've tried to keep it as neutral as possible. Because at the end of the day, I was not hired by one person against another person like I would be in court. This was for a group of people, for all the people. That's what I've done. Does that answer your question?
But I never saw you. That's why the first time I'm seeing you here. So, that's why I was having this.
Give me your address. I'll give you my office address. We can.
Yes.
I'll
Nice to
sit down and
meet you.
visit.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
ജോയുടെ ഡിസ്കഷൻ്റെ അനുസരിച്ച് ഈ ചർച്ച് വാങ്ങിയതുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് നമുക്ക് ഈ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റിക്ക് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വയറായ നമുക്ക് എത്ര രൂപ ലാഭിക്കാമായിരുന്നു ആ ഒരു ബാങ്ക്രപ്സി സിറ്റുവേഷനിൽ. അതുപോലെ രണ്ടാമത്തെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ, ഇതുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ടവർ ഇതിൽ ഒരു വീഴ്ച വരുത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ടെന്ന് ഉറപ്പാണ്.
നമുക്ക് അങ്ങനെ ഷുവറായിട്ട് പറയാനൊക്കത്തില്ല. ഫസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ഓൾ വാട്ട് ഹാപ്പൻ അറ്റ് ദാറ്റ് ടൈം, നമുക്ക് കറക്റ്റ് ഡിസിഷൻ എടുത്ത സമയം ആ മിനിറ്റ്സ് നോക്കാതെ അത് ആരൊക്കെയാണ് ഡിസിഷൻസ് എടുത്തത് അവരോട് സംസാരിക്കാൻ ചാൻസ് കിട്ടാതെ കമ്മീഷൻ ഏർപ്പെടുത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ടല്ലോ. സോ ഹോപ്പ്ഫുള്ളി ദാറ്റ് മൈറ്റ് provide some more light on this hopefully. I don't know, but like I said, I cannot say for sure if we would have gotten the property oru vela varanjo vela koodiyo enna pattan povunno, we cannot say for sure. But the fact is, now you got to understand the main point of all this was money was paid to build a church, but the money was used, like Philon Tran said, it was used to buy a church.
How we can find the real find?
If you think from watching or hearing the facts, you have, like I said, options to take it up with different departments like the DA's office or the Attorney General's office or even the Texas Real Estate Commission. Yeah, Jojo.
അറ്റോർണി എന്ന നിലയിലാണോ അതെയോ ജ്ഞാനായക്കാരൻ എന്ന നിലയിലാണോ എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചപ്പോൾ അതിന് ഉത്തരം വ്യക്തമായി പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് എനിക്കറിയില്ല. ഞാൻ തിരിച്ചു ചോദിക്കുന്നു, ഈ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി സെന്ററിനും പള്ളിക്കും വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാ $3000 മിനിമം കൊടുത്തവരാണ്. താങ്കൾ ഒരു ജ്ഞാനായക്കാരൻ എന്ന നിലയിൽ ഇവിടുത്തെ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റിക്ക് വേണ്ടി ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് ചെയ്യുവാണോ കാശ് ചെയ്യുവാണോ?
ഓക്കെ, ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ മനസ്സിലായില്ല. ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആണോ?
അതായത് നിങ്ങൾ ജ്ഞാനായക്കാരൻ എന്നത് ആണെന്ന് മുമ്പ് ഇവിടെ പറയുകയുണ്ടായി. സന്തോഷം. ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാ ജ്ഞാനായ കുടുംബങ്ങളും ഇത് രണ്ടിനും കാശ് മുടക്കിയിട്ടാണ് ഇത് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. താങ്കളുടെ സർവീസ് ഈ രണ്ടു കൂട്ടർക്കും വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ടാണോ അതെയോ വല്ലതും ചാർജ് ചെയ്താണോ എങ്ങനെയാണെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റാം.
പേരെങ്ങനെയായിരുന്നു? പേരൊന്ന് പറയാമോ? Mr. Simon, very good question. So, ഇതൊരു പള്ളി മേടിക്കുന്ന കാര്യമാണ് ഞാൻ ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് ചെയ്തത്. അങ്ങനെ അക്കുറിതാവേ. Okay?
I have a question.
Sure.
I just paid $3,000 to build a church in the back.
Yes.
Okay. Now, can you tell me what is my right? They didn't do the same thing. They did something else. So, what is my right to recoup that money to me? Is there any right I have or not?
Okay. Now, depends on what the ultimate goal is. We have to look at what the case law says regarding all of this. But other than obviously you have two different options. One is to file a civil suit, or the second one is, like I said, file a complaint with the three agencies that I just mentioned. Those are your options. Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Sure.
Have you ever talked to Mr. Babu Joseph or Yasin Jacob to hear their side of the story?
And I think I've answered that question 5 times already. Next question. Yes.
Let me congratulate you first. As you are a Kanai member also. We were very escaped to do last 2 years. You mentioned there is some illegal things come up with it. If further investigation goes, can we spend any money or anybody can do without what is called the without money, or can you do it free, or anybody can do it free?
Okay. Now, let me start by saying I never said that anything illegal was done. I want to be very clear about that. I just stated the facts to you, okay? Second, to answer your question as, can something be done without the people having to spend money? I think that was a question. To file a complaint, if you honestly believe from having seen this, if there's some merit to it, or if you feel that way, anybody can, or the people together can file a complaint with any of the agencies. And that is not something you have to have your own attorney for, to do that. Because that would be the first step. They will conduct their own investigation. They have a lot more power. The state does have a lot more power to look into certain, to what happened, and then they can proceed accordingly. Mr. Anthony? Yeah, go ahead, ask the question.
Can I ask one question? In your presentation you just mentioned, on July 29, there was a title insurance purchase for the property.
Yes.
Just one sentence. Could you give some specific point, who purchased it, for which property, for what amount?
It was for 65 West Viewpoint. That's what the property was. Now, I understand obviously you know what the title insurance policy is. It basically says that we will guarantee insurance on this title, right? So a title company has guaranteed it, and it was for this property located at 6400 West Street. It was not for any other property. But to go through each and every single document and every single analysis on each point will be here much longer. So I'm just keeping it very cursory right now. And like I said, from these statements, you can ask it yourself. You can look into it further if you want to. Request the documents to look into, see if there's anything further to it. Mr. Anthony, I think you had a question.
എല്ലാ കാര്യങ്ങളും എല്ലാവരും അറിഞ്ഞിരുന്നു. ഇവിടെ ഈ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടിക്ക് ഒരു ലീൻ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു എന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾക്കെല്ലാം അറിയാം. ഈ ഒരു ഡിസ്കഷൻ ജനറൽ ബോഡിയിൽ ഇത് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തതാണ്. പക്ഷേ ഈ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി ചാപ്റ്റർ ലെവലിൽ ബാങ്ക്രപ്സി ആയിട്ടുണ്ട് എന്നുള്ള കാര്യം ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയത്തില്ല. ഇത് ഞങ്ങളെ അറിയിക്കേണ്ട ചുമതല ആർക്കെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നതാണ്?
I think so. I think അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ചുമതല, I mean, you don't have if you look at it from a purely regular standpoint, I think if certain people are in a position of authority and you are entrusting them with something, then I think they do have a responsibility to do so. And if there are any doubts as to that, or if that needs to be clarified further, I'm pretty sure looking into the Texas Real Estate Commission, that can provide some answers to. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Based on your report, I understand that we have a real estate agent, but I'm confused whether he was representing the community of Houston or he was representing the seller.
From my understanding, he was representing the community.
And also, did anybody authorize him to represent himself for the buyers? Well, he cannot act in both ways. Looks like he was acting as an agent and also acting as a representative of the buyers.
There was a real estate agent involved for the seller, and this person, from what I believe, was acting on behalf of the buyer. And doing so, both, either way, you end up owing certain responsibilities to whoever you're representing. That's there. So the responsibility is not taken away.
Okay, Joe, thank you for giving us this information. The couple of questions I have. One is to follow up with the Zenith's question. Actually, you said there was only one attorney was involved. This is how I understood. There was only one attorney involved for both buyer and seller. Is it legally allowed in Texas? This thing can it be done? Because the buyers, the community has
did not have an attorney. That's what I understood. Philotron was not there. It was represented by their legal counsel. Is it possible? That's one question. Second question is, obviously, we all know that there was money laundering done. We all understand there's money laundering done. Now, the money laundering, was it done by the buyer? That is, buyer is us, our agents, or our people involved in this, or by the seller? Like you said, this property was inflated, and I understood, that's how I understood. Or any hierarchies were involved in this money laundering. And if it is so, do we have a chance to file? I know there is a chance to go the legal route. Can you tell or give us a budgetary estimate how much it will cost us? Is it going to cost us another $1 million, or is it going to come with a $10,000 budget, or are there any lawyers who can do it on a commission basis? Like if they find something, if it's done, $1 or $2 million was involved, they can take the commission off and give the rest back to the community. Is there any legal firm that does that?
Yeah, first of all, if there's nothing in the law that says that if you don't want the representation of a legal counsel, that you have to have one. So it's up to whoever's buying or whoever's selling if they need representation or not. So if you're coming as a buyer, if you don't have an attorney, I can't force you to go get an attorney. And second, regarding the money laundering and etc., I just stated the facts. Those are the assumptions, I guess, the people have made. Obviously, all of y'all have been very involved with buying this property from the beginning. And if that is a concern, if there's a concern that something illegal or some kind of criminal activity has taken place, then you have every right to proceed like you would in a normal circumstance with regarding any criminal activity, which is take it up to the authorities. I'm pretty sure that legal counsel could be available on a civil basis, but on a budget, I don't know how much the cost is going to be. That is something that you sit down and you look at it, you look at how intricate the case is, how deep it goes, etc., and then you make a decision based off of that. So if at all, with the proper authorization, I can always help whoever needs to look into this, I guess, if they want to look at this investigation, etc. Reasonably. Yes, sir.
സാർ, ഞാൻ ഇതിൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് കനാനഹോമിൽ താമസിക്കുന്ന ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ്. ഇതിൻ്റെ ബാക്കിൽ പള്ളി വരും എന്നുള്ള ഒരു ആഗ്രഹത്തിൽ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇവിടെ ഒരു പള്ളി ഉണ്ടാകാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടുള്ള ആഗ്രഹത്തിലാണ് ഞങ്ങളിവിടെ കുറേ പേര് സ്ഥലം മേടിക്കുകയും ഇവിടെ താമസം തുടങ്ങുകയും ചെയ്തത്. പക്ഷേ ആ കാര്യം നടന്നില്ല. അന്നത്തെ ആ നടക്കാത്തതിൻ്റെ പേരിൽ $125,000 ഇതിന് പൊതുഫണ്ടിൽ നിന്ന് നഷ്ടമായിട്ടുണ്ടെന്നുള്ളതാണ് ഞാൻ കേൾക്കുന്നത്. പിന്നെ അതിന് ശേഷം അടുത്ത കാലത്ത് പള്ളിക്കെതിരായിട്ട് മറ്റൊരു കേസുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അതിന് $35,000 പള്ളിക്ക് നഷ്ടം വന്നെന്ന് അച്ഛൻ പള്ളി വിളിച്ച് പറഞ്ഞു. ദയവായിട്ട് ഇത് ഏത് രീതിയിലായാലും അനായക്കാരുടെ പണമാണ്, ഒന്നല്ലെങ്കിൽ മറ്റൊരാളുടെ. എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത് നമ്മൾ മറന്നു കിടന്നുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മളെ തന്നെ തുക്കുന്നത് പോലെയുള്ള ഒരു അനുഭവമാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ ഉണ്ടായിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. ആർക്കായാലും അനായക്കാരന് ആർക്ക് പണം നഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടു കഴിഞ്ഞാലും നമുക്ക് ഓരോരുത്തർക്കും നഷ്ടപ്പെടുന്നത് പോലെയാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇതിന് ശാശ്വതമായ ഒരു പരിഹാരം കാണുകയും ഇനി മേലിലെങ്കിലും നമ്മൾ തമ്മിൽ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള പരസ്പരമോടെയാടി നിർത്തുക. അതിനുള്ളൊരു സൊല്യൂഷൻ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എനിക്കറിയാം വക്കീലന്മാരെ വിളിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അവർക്ക് കേസ് കിട്ടുന്ന അവർക്ക് താല്പര്യമുള്ള കാര്യം. അതിലേക്കല്ല നമ്മൾ പോകേണ്ടത്. നമ്മൾ സമാധാനപരമായിട്ടുള്ളൊരു കാര്യത്തിൽ കൂടി ഈ പ്രശ്നം അവസാനിപ്പിക്കാൻ പറ്റുമോ ഇല്ലയോ എന്നുള്ളതിന് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു നിർദ്ദേശം വെക്കാൻ വക്കീലിൻ്റെ അടുത്തുണ്ടോ? അത് വെക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് അതായിരിക്കും ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് അവിടെ ആശ്വാസമായിട്ടുള്ളത്. എനിക്ക് പറയാനുള്ളത്.
ഫസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ഓൾ, എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായി, നിങ്ങളുടെ വിഷം മനസ്സിലായി. അതായത് ഇവിടെ ഒരു പള്ളി വരുന്ന വെച്ചുകൊണ്ട് മൂവ് ചെയ്തതിൻ്റെ, പള്ളി ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നതിൻ്റെ, പിന്നെ പൈസ ഫണ്ടിൽ നിന്ന് പോയതും, പിന്നെ പൈസ കേസ് കളിച്ചതിൻ്റെ. സോ നമുക്ക് you know, and like you said, മറന്നിരുന്ന മുകളോട് തുപ്പുന്ന പോലെയാ അല്ലേ? I understand what you're saying. I don't think, from what I see, I don't think there's even a single person here. നമ്മുടെ ജ്ഞാനായക്കാർ ആർക്കും എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നില്ല, അതായത് പള്ളിക്കോ ഒരു ഡൊണേഷൻ കൊടുക്കാനോ പള്ളിക്ക് പൈസ കൊടുക്കാനോ ആർക്കും ഒരു വിഷമമില്ലെന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നിക്കുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, പക്ഷേ അങ്ങനെ കൊടുക്കുന്ന ഒരു പൈസ, I think the problem is when it ends up somewhere else, possibly, or you feel like it's ending up somewhere else. ഇപ്പം ഞാൻ വന്ന് പറമ്പി ഒന്ന് കളയ്ക്കുന്നതിന് എനിക്ക് 50 രൂപ ഒരു 3 രൂപ ആണെങ്കിൽ I earned it, right? അപ്പം ഞാൻ കളിക്കാൻ വന്നിട്ട് ഞാൻ കളിച്ചില്ല, പക്ഷെ 3 മണിക്ക് വന്നാൽ you will have a problem with that. So I think that's the basic question is, the people, I don't think the people have a problem with donating or giving money. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is, like you said, transparency I think is very important. The thing is that as the people have to decide. They have to say that at the end of the day, you are the members, right? So, you know, it's our right to ask for something or say that something be done or whatever it is, and you always have that option. Okay, this is so നമ്മളിപ്പം ഒരുമിച്ച് വരാനോ അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു യൂണിറ്റി വരാൻ, like you said, the thing is that you know, I guess this is one of the first steps to that. Like I said, this should not be used to attack or discredit anybody. This should be just used as, you know, maybe an opportunity to tell people that we will do this if needs be. If something is not clear, we will do this again, and you know, there might be more severe decisions made. So that will bring out more of a transparent organization, and stuff like what happened to you. It's very sad, and it possibly might not happen again.
കുര്യൻ പറഞ്ഞതിൻ്റെ ഒരു ബാക്കപ്പാണ് ഇത്. ഞാൻ സാജനോട് ചോദിക്കുകയാണ്, സാജന പ്രസിഡന്റ് ഓഫ് ജ്ഞാനായ സൊസൈറ്റി.
Okay.
What can we do? I mean, I'm asking the president.
Yeah, let me ask you. One second. So I'm actually going to conclude my speech right here, and I don't want, you know, I know this is for the president. So President will back questions. Sir.
You just stand by. Let me.
No. If you have a question for me, you ask me a question. If not, you know, you can ask him later at some other venue. I want to answer.
Anyway, I'm up here. Sergeant, as a president, as the elected president of the society, what can we do without going to the courts to convey this message to the people who committed this the accused crime? Now we need to come across a solution. Whatever is done is done. We cannot take anything back. What can we do to solve this and come to a one society, one vision? What can you do about this? This is my question.
Okay, I think there's a legal question. Let me answer that question first. Go ahead.
Okay, എനിക്ക് ചോദിക്കാനുള്ളത്, നമ്മളിവിടെ കഴിഞ്ഞ 2 വർഷമായി നമ്മളിതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് ചർച്ച ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. ഇപ്പോഴാണ് കുറച്ചൊക്കെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ, ഈ കാര്യങ്ങൾ കുറച്ചൊക്കെ മുമ്പ് കുറച്ച് പേർക്ക് അറിയാമായിരുന്നു, ഇപ്പോൾ കുറച്ച് പേർക്ക് മനസ്സിലായി. ഇപ്പോൾ നമ്മളിവിടെ പറഞ്ഞ കൂട്ടത്തിൽ നമ്മുടെ പള്ളിയുടെ അഡ്രസ്സ് 6400 വെസ്റ്റ് നമ്മൾ പള്ളി വാങ്ങിച്ച സമയത്ത് ലോൺ എടുത്താണ് പള്ളി വാങ്ങിച്ചത്. ആ ലോൺ എടുക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് അപ്രൈസിൽ എടുക്കണം. ആ അപ്രൈസിൽ എടുത്തപ്പോൾ തന്നിരിക്കുന്നത് ഇവിടെ നിങ്ങൾ സൂചിപ്പിച്ചു 7900 ആണ് അപ്രൈസിൽ കിട്ടിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ ഈ അപ്രൈസിൽ എടുക്കുന്നതിന്റെ ഉത്തരവാദിത്വം ആർക്കാണ്? അത് എന്തിനു വേണ്ടി 6400 79 ആക്കി? അങ്ങനെ മാറ്റിയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അതിന് എന്ത് നിയമവശങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് കണ്ടുപിടിക്കാൻ സാധിക്കും? കാരണം ഇപ്പോൾ പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്നത് അപ്രൈസിൽ ഇല്ലാത്തതിന്റെ പേരിലായിരിക്കും 7900 കാണിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. അത് തമ്മിലുള്ള ബന്ധം എന്താണെന്ന് ഒന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് താല്പര്യമുണ്ട്.
Definitely, I mean, നമ്മളൊരു ഈ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി മേടിക്കുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് അപ്രൈസൽ ചെയ്തോന്ന് I don't know. പക്ഷേ ഈ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന അപ്രൈസൽ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് ഫോർട്ട് ബെൻഡ് കൗണ്ടി അപ്രൈസൽ ഡിസ്ട്രിക്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത അപ്രൈസലിന്റെ നോട്ട് കാർഡ് വെച്ചാണ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്. Now, ഇങ്ങനൊരു കാര്യം നോക്കേണ്ട ഒരു ഉത്തരവാദിത്വം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നോ എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചാൽ ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി. ഞാനൊരു വീട് മേടിക്കാൻ എന്നെ ഒരു ഇത് മേടിക്കാനോ അത് മേടിക്കാനോ ഏൽപ്പിക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ ഐ ഹാവ് ദി റെസ്പോൺസിബിലിറ്റി ലുക്ക് ഇൻ ടു ദാറ്റ്. സോ ദാറ്റ്സ് ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി ദെയർ. അതിൻ്റെ കണക്ഷൻ ആണെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ. Why do they do that എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ I don't know. All I know is when I looked into this, 6400 West View എന്നുള്ളത് 7900-ന്റെ അപ്രൈസൽ ആണ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്, അതായത് പേപ്പർ. It could be possible that 6400 ചെയ്തിട്ട് 7900-ന്റെ പേര് വെച്ചെന്നോ, I don't know. അതിന്റെ ഫോട്ടോ ഇരിക്കുന്നത് which was added on.
അതനുസരിച്ചാണ് ആ ബാങ്കുകാർ നമുക്ക് ആ ലോൺ മനസ്സിലാക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ അത് ബാങ്കുകാരുടെ ചുമതലയല്ലേ? ആ ബാങ്കുകാരല്ലേ അവിടെ തെറ്റ് ചെയ്തത്?
ഈ കാര്യത്തിൽ ഈ പെർട്ടിക്കുലർ ഇൻസ്റ്റൻസിൽ ഈ വിൽക്കാനിരുന്ന പ്രോപ്പർട്ടിയുടെ മുകളിൽ ഈ ലോൺ കൊടുത്ത സെയിം ബാങ്കായിരുന്നു, ബാങ്കിനായിരുന്നു ലീൻ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നത്. സോ അങ്ങനെ വരുന്ന ഒരു അപ്പൊ അതായത് they can always claim that എനിക്കറിയായിരുന്നു how much the property was valued at. Maybe I'm just saying this. I don't want to make any guesses here, but to answer your question, yes. Ipam bank before they give you a loan, say suppose somebody comes and asks to buy something with a certain money, they say give me the money to buy this. The bank wants to know if this is worth this much or whatever it is. But in this instance, this property was, they had a lien on this property which was going bankruptcy. Okay, so then he came and asked me for a loan to buy that same property. It's a different, so I give you the money, went over here and came back to me. Cheating എന്ന് പറയാൻ I don't know if it's cheating or not. അത് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ഇപ്പം നമുക്ക് ഇത് കുറച്ചുകൂടി ഡീപ്പായിട്ട് ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനോ ഒരു ഇത് ചെയ്യണമെങ്കിലോ നമുക്ക് ലോ സൂട്ട് ഫയൽ ചെയ്യാതെ ഞാൻ ബാങ്കിൽ പോയി ചോദിക്കുകയാണ് ഇത് പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി മേടിച്ചതിന്റെ ലോൺ ഡോക്യുമെന്റ്സ് എനിക്ക് കാണിക്കാൻ പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അല്ല അതും ചർച്ചയായിരുന്നു. ആൻഡ് ഈ 6400 അതെ ഈ well I don't know which property appraisal ചെയ്തതെന്ന്, because 7900 അഡ്രസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, 6400-ന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് ചെയ്തതെന്നാണ് വന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. പക്ഷേ 6400-ഉം 7900-ഉം രണ്ടും സെയിം ബാലൻസിന്റെ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി ആയിരുന്നു. Right down the street.
I have a question.
Yeah. Good.
I think regardless of whichever side you represent here, but before he concludes, I think we should give Joe another round of applause because part of the work he has actually put in this PowerPoint.
Thank you, Joe. And yeah, okay. Last question.
I asked before, please.
Okay. Mr. Ribbon, I think you already asked a question. Can I have him answer the question if possible? Because my time is limited too. Sure.
I'm not a realtor. ഒരു പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി ട്രാൻസാക്ഷൻ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ഈ ടൈറ്റിൽ കമ്പനിക്ക് ഒരു റെസ്പോൺസിബിലിറ്റി ഉണ്ട്. ടൈറ്റിൽ കമ്പനി വിൽ എക്സാമിൻ A to Z ഹിസ്റ്ററി ഓഫ് ദ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടി, റൈറ്റ്? ലീൻ ഓൺ ജഡ്ജ്മെന്റ്. സോ ഈ ടൈറ്റിൽ കമ്പനി ഇത് ക്ലോസ് ചെയ്തത് ഇതെല്ലാം ക്ലിയർ ആക്കിയിട്ടാണോ, ഓർ ഈസ് ദർ എ ഡിഫോൾട്ട് ഫ്രം ദ ടൈറ്റിൽ കമ്പനി?
Okay. Now, like I said, I don't want to go into the details about like the title insurance or what they do. But as long as the liens are cleared before the property is bought or whatever. I mean, now these are the liens we know about. Well, actually, I don't think you knew about this. But if you knew about the liens and you're okay with it and you pay for it and it doesn't show up, then I don't think it should be a problem. But I don't know. I don't know if they're responsible because I don't think they lied about anything. They did have it in there that this property was in bankruptcy. That's what Attorney Philantran said. Yes, sir.
After I heard your presentation, a lot of these things I am familiar with. ഒത്തിരി പേർക്ക് അറിയത്തില്ലെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു. ഞാൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കിയത് എൻ്റെ പേഴ്സണലായിട്ട്, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You don't have to agree with me either. Anyway, ഹ്യൂസ്റ്റൺ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ബാങ്കിന് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്ന ഒരു ബേർഡൻ അവസാനം ഞാൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കിയത് ജ്ഞാനായ ജനങ്ങളുടെ തലയിലേക്ക് എടുത്തു വെച്ചു. That's all what it is. You don't have to agree or disagree. That's my personal conclusion. പിന്നെ another thing is, ഐക്കരെ കുര്യൻചേട്ടൻ അവിടെ വെച്ച് പറഞ്ഞു ഇനി മേലാൽ ഇത് ഉണ്ടാകരുത് എന്നുള്ളത്. ഞാനിവിടെ വന്നിട്ട് 20 വർഷമായി ക്യൂസിനെ വന്നിട്ട് എല്ലാ ജനറൽ ബോഡിയിലും എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു പ്രശ്നം ചെയ്തതായിട്ട് കൊണ്ടുവന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇനി മേലാൽ ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു സംഭവം മേലാൽ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് താക്കീത് കൊടുത്ത് വിടുന്നുണ്ട് എല്ലാ പ്രാവശ്യവും. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇത് ചുമ്മാ നിസ്സാരമായ ഒരു കാര്യമല്ല. മിനിറ്റ്സ് എഴുതി തെറ്റിപ്പോയി അതാണ് ഇതാണ് തോന്നുന്നത്. ദിസ് ഈസ് എ മേജർ തിങ്. ആൾക്കാരെ ഡിഫ്രോഡ് ചെയ്ത് ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷനാണ്. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇനി മേല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് തള്ളിവിടുന്നത് നല്ലതാണോ എന്ന് എനിക്കറിയത്തില്ല. സോ സംതിങ് ഹാസ് ടു ബി ഡൺ ഇന്ന് ഇത് ഒരു there has to be a stopping point somewhere. At least this should set a precedent എന്നാണ് എൻ്റെ പേഴ്സണൽ അഭിപ്രായം. Another thing is, ഇവിടെ ആരെങ്കിലും കുറെ ഇൻഡിവിജ്വൽസ് ടെക്സസ് റിയൽ എസ്റ്റേറ്റ് കമ്മീഷനിലും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ മുമ്പേ പറഞ്ഞ ഡിസ്ട്രിക്ട് അറ്റോർണി ജനറൽ ഇവരുടെ ഓഫീസുകളിൽ സമീപിച്ചാൽ my question is this: if there is something going on, an investigation going on, കാരണം എന്നെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം I understand that there are issues of fraud, there is issues of mishandling of people's money, there is issues of fiduciary duties upon certain individuals. All these issues are at stake here. So if Attorney General ഓഫീസിലും ഡിസ്ട്രിക്ട് അറ്റോർണിയുടെ ഓഫീസിലും TRCയിലും കംപ്ലൈന്റുകൾ ചെന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, what about if there is a class action suit on a contingency basis? ഒരു class action suit individuals കൊണ്ടുവരാണെങ്കിൽ, is there any problem in bringing a class action suit while an investigation is going on with the Attorney General or District Attorney or anybody like that?
Well, first of all, I agree with whatever you said, and I appreciate that. And to answer your question, basically, correct me if I'm wrong, I think your question was, will you criminal suit initiate ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ will that preclude the people? അതായത് ഒരു ക്രിമിനൽ സൂട്ട് നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ മനുഷ്യർക്ക് ഒരു സിവിൽ സൂട്ട് കൊണ്ടുവരണമെങ്കിൽ അത് കൊണ്ടുവരാനൊക്കെ ഇല്ല എന്നുള്ളതാണ് ഐ തിങ്ക് വാസ് യുവർ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ അല്ലേ? ഓക്കെ, രണ്ട് രീതിയിലാണ് പോകുന്നത്. One is something that's brought by the state or the government, and the second one is something that's brought by the citizens. So criminal case അനുസരിച്ച് you plead the fifth നേരിട്ടില്ലേ, you have a right against self-incrimination. So with a criminal case വരുവാണെങ്കിൽ there is a possibility that you could say, well, I can't say anything because it possibly could, sorry, with a civil suit വരുവാണെങ്കിൽ you can say that, okay, maybe that's because ഒരു criminal case നടക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, so ഞാൻ ഈ civil suit പറയുന്നത് can be used against me in a criminal suit, and it's a violation of my Fifth Amendment privilege, so I'm not going to say it എന്നുള്ള പറയാം. പക്ഷേ just because you go to an attorney, it might take some time for the investigation to conclude, and depending on how fast they move, and sometimes they might not, we don't know if they, I'm not saying that they will bring a case or they might not bring a case, I'm just giving you options. And regarding this, how we should not let it go, I agree with you. And from what I heard, there was, I guess, a commission that was, a group of people that were commissioned, a special committee that was commissioned to kind of investigate this matter that my firm has been looking into. And I don't know anything about that. Nobody approached me or talked to me about anything. And I was also told by the other attorney that he's unaware of any impropriety or any investigation into buying of this property or mishandling of funds in any way while the other investigation was going on. So I don't know what that leaves me. But I really appreciate everybody taking the time off and for your patience. ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ പ്രസന്റ് ചെയ്തത് പല ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ജ്ഞാനക്കാരനാണോ വക്കീലാണോ എന്നൊക്കെ ഉള്ളത് അത് ഞാൻ പിന്നെ പറയാം ആൻസർ. പക്ഷേ ഇങ്ങനെ എല്ലാവരും ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്ന ഒരു വേദിയിൽ all I want to say is that ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ ട്രൈ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത് ഒരു ജ്ഞാനക്കാരൻ എന്നുള്ള നിലയിൽ I think my duty is to make sure that this is not used for personal gain, to destroy the community, just to make money or get some name. That's not my intention. ഞാൻ എനിക്ക് ചെയ്യാവുന്നതിനെ മാക്സിമം ചെയ്തു to explain to you. അതായത് the whole thing is നമ്മളായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞ എന്നാ എലിക്കും മുള്ളിനും കേടില്ലാത്ത പോലെ. That's what I've tried. And I hope what I presented to you is you understand, and now the decision is yours. I've done my part, and now the people have to decide. And thank you very much, and I'm proud to be a part of this community. And I want to be very clear that I became a Knanaya before I became an attorney. Thank you.